Come on. We will win. Because we will hit all game. We are motivated. We are dedicated. Come on now. Come on now. We will win. Because we are the best on the field. And we hit the field like all day light, all night light, on the blue light, offense light, defense light, his squad light, house call light, and it sound light, and it sound light, and it sound light.
Yeah.
It's official. It's official. It's official.
Combine season is upon us.
I'ma do this here forever.
EQ.
Forever.
Try it.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I'ma do this here forever.
Let's go.
All you haters better be coming. This the day you've been waiting on your road.
Everyone, we have Matt Yustin on here as he is an up-and-coming NFL coverage scout, possible scout. And since we just got through our first of many Sundays without football, I asked him to join us as we get ready for the NFL Combine and the draft. Matt, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? It's great to be on here.
Pretty good, pretty good. Now, for the listeners, give them a little something about you.
Well, I'm actually from Canada. I'm an American citizen, but living in Canada. I'm currently an intern in the personnel department with the Toronto Argos of the CFL. I'm a university student at the University of Western Ontario, and I've pretty much loved football my entire life. It's my thing. That's pretty much all about me.
Right now, I see I've seen you tweet back and forth with Matt Miller, and for the people that don't know him, he's a NFL coverage, draft coverage guy for Bleacher Report as well as others. What's your relationship with him?
Well, he kind of inspired me to get in for this whole thing. He ran like a Periscope session, I think in October, and I kind of asked him a question. I'm like, how can I get into the scouting industry? And he's like, make a Twitter, post some content on your Twitter, and just keep making connections. So he inspired me to do that. He gave me a follow, so him and I have, I'd say, a good relationship. We talk on occasion. He's an awesome guy. If you guys don't follow, like if any of you guys listening don't follow him, definitely give him a follow because, in my opinion, he's probably the best out there. I'm really happy to have a relationship with him because he's really helped me out along the way.
Yeah, that's actually how I found your Twitter, through him. I saw, I think you were asking him, or someone asked him about the same question, and you replied as well in there, and decided to check it out. And love what you saw about, as a San Diego Chargers fans. I love what you said about the team, about the possibility who we're drafting and stuff like that. And I just went through the website. And I was like, "Whoa, I need to talk to this guy."
Awesome. That's sweet.
But so the moment we've all been waiting for, as we get closer and closer now. I know things will change from now till April, but as of right now, let's run through your first round of the 2016 NFL Draft with the Tennessee Titans. Who do you got?
All right, I have Laremy, Tunsil, the big left tackle out of Ole Miss, going there. Marcus Mariota got beaten up pretty badly in the 2015 season, and I really think they need to grab a left tackle. Taylor Lewan, he's a great tackle, but I don't think his fit is that great on the left side, so I think Tunsil should come in, and they should move Lewan to the right side. Tunsil should take the left, and I think Mariota will be a little better protected.
Right, and they have obviously many options and openings for their positions where they're at. Why left tackle and offensive line over a defensive need or anything else like that?
Yeah, they defensively they could go a couple options. Jalen Ramsey is an unbelievable player, and they should consider him. But with the investment that they put in last year at number 2 overall in Mariota, and I really think Mariota could be great. Like, he flashed some unbelievable ability this year. And I think their number one priority should be to protect him. Because if they don't, he could continuously. Like, he could get injured a lot, and you saw that last season. So I think Tunsil's their man.
Right. Now, moving on to the Cleveland Browns, a franchise that has been used to being in the top 5, if not the top 3, for many, many years. Where do you see them going in the direction, whether it's quarterback, whether it's anything really?
So right now I have them taking Jared Goff. It could change depending on free agency. There's been some rumors that they could possibly go after Brock Osweiler. I don't see Osweiler getting out of Denver. If Elway's smart, he will not. Osweiler will not get out of Denver. But I have the Browns taking Jared Goff. I think he is the best quarterback in this draft. He may not have the highest upside, but Cleveland's been drafting upside quarterbacks for the last 10 years. You look at Brandon Whedon, like Manziel, those guys completely busted. You want a guy that right now can come in, start day one, and make an impact. So I think Goff's their man.
Right. To me, when I look at this quarterback draft class, it seems like this year we have more quarterbacks to pick from, but there's not that guy who just stands out above the others like past draft classes. What do you have to say about the quarterback class that we have this year compared to others?
Yeah, it's very different because we haven't seen a class like this in a while. 2012, we had Andrew Luck. We had Griffin, who we thought was going to be great. 2013 we all knew it was not going to be a good class at all. 14, we had Bortles, Bridgewater. So we're kind of similar to 14, but it's not entirely similar because Bridgewater, you saw him slip to 32, where Goff and Bridgewater are kind of similar. They're not the most physically gifted quarterbacks, but I do not see Goff slipping to 30, into the second round or late first round. Honestly, like, most of these quarterbacks are upside guys. Like, you look at Lynch, Wentz, they're both over 6'5". They're both over 235 pounds. They have huge arms. Then you look at guys like Hackenberg, Connor Cook. They've been pretty successful in college at one point, but people are questioning their on-field inconsistencies as well as their leadership abilities. Like, some people have questioned, Hackenberg questioning James Franklin, not mentioning him in his exit speech when he declared for the draft. So I don't know, maybe people question that. Then there's Goff. He's not really physically gifted, but he's smart. He's really poised, and his mechanics are unbelievable. They're as good as it gets.
All right, now we go on to my favorite team, San Diego Chargers. A complete whiff of the year. They have so many questions, so many different spots they need to fill with, again, another year of less and less draft picks, it seems like. They can go defensive line. They can go, I guess not receiver this early, but you got defensive back. Now, Weddle's probably gone. Well, actually is gone. Where do you see the Chargers going with the biggest need with the 3rd overall pick?
I have them going Jalen Ramsey, the corner or safety from Florida State. I think he may overtake Tunsil on my board as my number 1. The Chargers, they could look at Joey Bosa, but I do not like Bosa's fit in a 3-4 at all. I don't think it's very good. So I think they should go Jalen Ramsey. They could look at Ronnie Stanley because their offensive line wasn't the best this year. But in my opinion, I see Stanley. He's going to blow the combine up, but I really, really question him in the pros. I think he's going to have a really tough time adjusting. I think he could be similar to Greg Robinson, very physically gifted, but technically they're not there yet, and it's really hard to adjust in the pros when the defensive linemen are so much quicker. So I would not touch Stanley until a bit later. So I see the Chargers taking Ramsey because he is an absolute stud. His football IQ is off the charts. His measurables are amazing. and just technically he's as close to perfect as it gets, and he could come in and replace Weddle at either. He could play safety, he could play corner, he does it all.
Right, and I'm glad to hear you say that. I mean, I've read through your side and what you had to say, and for me, I was just like, no. It has to be offensive line. It's just terrible, this and that. But I wanted to hear what you had to say and really convince me to go towards Ramsey. And I'm liking it just because, who we got with Jason Verrett and some of the younger guys, and seeing that it's almost there defensively. It's just not complete, and I think he can help it out tremendously. So I like what you had to hear about, or had to say about Jalen Ramsey there.
Yeah, they should, if the Chargers can go and look for some linemen in free agency, there's going to be some awesome offensive linemen. Mitchell Schwartz on the Browns, he's a great right tackle. Jari Evans, I think Boone from the Niners, he's gone. So there's going to be some very good options in free agency for the Chargers to look at. But if you have a guy like Jalen Ramsey still on the board at 3, you can't pass up on him. And personally, Ronnie Stanley, I'm questioning him right now. Okay.
And then we got the Dallas Cowboys, who a lot of people are saying quarterback, other people saying defense. Who do you got?
I have Joey Bosa going there. This is the first 4-3 team that is picking at 4th overall. As I said, I don't really like Bosa's fit in a 3-4. I don't think he would be a guy you'd want in space. And I don't think he's bendy or flexible enough to play outside linebackers. So I see him playing in Dallas' scheme, and I see him fitting there very well. I think Greg Hardy's at the door. He has a lot of problems, and personally, I don't like him at all. I hope he's out the door. So I think Joey Bosa would come in, replace him. DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, teamed up with Joey Bosa would be scary. That could take them over the top.
All right. And I'm glad to see that, because I also don't believe that the Cowboys should go for a quarterback, especially with the class that we have this year and at 4th overall. Definitely liking the Bosa pick there. And then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you got with them?
I have Myles Jack, the linebacker from UCLA. He's a stud. He's coming off a knee injury. There's no 100% idea what it actually was. Most people are saying it was meniscus, I think, in his knee. I've heard ACL, but I know it's not ACL because he's already running, jumping, and it's only been a couple months. So he's coming off a knee injury, but his film is unbelievable. Jacksonville just took Dante Fowler last year. They should keep adding pieces to that defense because their offense is pretty explosive. So this draft, they should just focus on defense, and Myles Jack is unbelievable. He played one entire game at slot corner, and he's a 230-pound linebacker. He's unbelievable. In coverage, he's awesome. He has some things to work on when it comes to stopping the run. He needs to shed blocks a little better, but he has a ton of talent in coverage, so they should probably take him if they want their defense to keep progressing.
Right. And then we got the Baltimore Ravens, a team filled with injuries last season, and what could have been a completely different story. Now that they're at with the number 6 overall pick, who do you see them going after?
I have them taking Ronnie Stanley, who we've talked about a little bit. I don't believe Eugene Monroe is a top-tier tackle, and he's being paid like that. I think they should keep him on the roster, but I think they should go with Stanley. Stanley does have a ton of upside. He could be a top 5 tackle, but they're going to need to develop him right, and Eugene Monroe is a guy that could take Stanley under his wing. I think Stanley could start right away at left tackle, but I think there's going to be some growing pains. So I think they should go with Stanley because his upside is unbelievable, but they need to beware.
Right. After that, we got the San Francisco 49ers, new head coach Chip Kelly, new scheme. What do you got?
I have Paxton Lynch, the quarterback from Memphis. There's been rumors about Colin Kaepernick I don't believe in Colin Kaepernick, to be honest. I think after what happened with the last regime, I think he should move on, get a fresh start, and the Niners should part with him because the money situation. But I have them going Paxton Lynch. He has a ton of upside. He's huge. He has a huge arm. He's very athletic. So if Chip Kelly does want to go to the read option, they could do that because Paxton Lynch is kind of similar to Cam Newton or Mariota. He has that athletic ability. He's a little raw. He needs to work on his mechanics when it comes to throwing, but he did a lot of short passing in his college days, and that's what Chip Kelly's system is kind of based on, a lot of short passing. So I think Lynch is a guy they should look at and they should take.
All right, and then we got the Miami Dolphins. What do we got with them?
Mackenzie Alexander, the cornerback from Clemson. I've seen Mackenzie Alexander fall quite a bit in some mock drafts. I don't believe he should because he is a lockdown corner. He's not going to blow the combine up. I know GMs love drafting corners for their physical abilities and their upside. And Mackenzie Alexander, he has upside, but it's not like a guy like Artie Burns who's going to go later, 6'1", and is going to run like a 4.3. Alexander's probably is going to come in 5'10", run something 4.4, something kind of average. But if you look at his tape, he shuts down one side of the field. He's small, but he's tenacious. He's unbelievable in man coverage. In Miami, Brent Grimes, he's good. He's 32 years old. So they should look at another corner to just help that defense continue to progress.
And then we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Got Jameis Winston, broke a few records, looking pretty good. What do we got with him?
I have Noah Spence, the edge from Eastern Kentucky. They pretty much have nobody on the edge in their defense, so they should look to add a guy like Spence. Spence has some off-the-field baggage, but on the field, he is pretty impressive. He still needs to tighten some things up. He needs to add a little strength to his lower body because he doesn't really have any speed to power skills like someone like Von Miller has. So Von Miller's the complete pass rusher, but Noah Spence is kind of in that mold. Noah Spence's bend around the edge is unbelievable. He's very talented. Tampa should see if he's past his partying days, which is what was happening at Ohio State when he got banned from the Big Ten. So they should see if his baggage is gone, and if it is, they should take him because he is ridiculously talented.
Right. I was on the road last week or the week of the Senior Bowl, and they were talking about him, saying how he was a real smart kid, real bright kid, just had some off-the-field trouble and how that was going to lean on him towards the draft. And still, I guess, going 9th overall to the Buccaneers would still be a huge, huge thing for him given what he's had to go through.
Yeah, it would. He's had a pretty tough time, but he's bounced back, and he's been straight. He hasn't done anything bad since he's left the Big Ten, so I believe he's turned it around.
And then we got the New York Giants, which offensively, Odell, Eli, and some of the wide receivers that got it going. 6-10 again this year. Who do you got with them?
I have been taking Jalen Smith, the linebacker with a shredded knee out of Notre Dame. If he didn't tear his ACL, and I believe it was his MCL, if that didn't happen, he might have bumped up to my number one overall player. But something like that is tough to recover from. But if anyone can recover from it, it's Jalen Smith. As a weak side linebacker, he's ridiculously talented. He transcends scheme. He can literally play any linebacker position in any scheme. He's that good. The Giants aren't really talented at linebacker at all. They've kind of been known to not draft linebackers when they actually should have drafted a linebacker. So they should look at Smith. They're going to need to be patient with him because it's going to take some time. But Matt Miller said, I believe, the week of the Senior Bowl that teams believe he may be ready for the start of the 2016 season, which is absolutely crazy. So
That would be.
I believe they should go with Smith. Yeah, I think Smith's their guy.
And then we have the Chicago Bears at 11. Now they've with Matt Forte have said they're clearing path. They're going to go a separate way. Does that change anything for you? Possibly taking Ezekiel Elliott at running back, or do they go in a different direction?
I think they should stick defense. There's good value in the later rounds for running backs. And they already have a couple capable running backs on their roster. So I have them going with DeForest Buckner. He's pretty high on my board. He is really, really, really talented as a 5-technique defensive end. They need some help on the defensive line. They just need to get more depth. They need to get bigger. They need to get stronger. They need to get faster. Buckner is already really refined, but he has a stupid amount of upside as a pass rusher. He's very strong. He's 6'7". He's almost 300 pounds. He's quick off the line. He just needs to get some pass rushing moves into his repertoire and arsenal. He needs to develop a bit more in the pass rushing sense. But when it comes to stuff in the run, he's second to none.
Right. And then we got the New Orleans Saints. Question marks early in the season whether they're keeping the head coach, keeping Drew Brees. They kept both. What's with them?
I have them going Shaq Lawson. They have Cam Jordan on their defensive line. He's great, but outside of him, they're pretty weak on their defensive line. They're pretty weak everywhere on their defense. So they could go any direction on defense, and they'd get better. Shaq Lawson is awesome. He had a good playoffs. He was injured in the playoffs, but he played very well. His regular season was amazing. He's very strong. He has great hand usage. I don't think his upside is crazy like a guy like Noah Spence or Leonard Floyd, who is going to be taken a little later. But Lawson, he could come in right away and be an awesome 9 or 7 technique in that hybrid front. They are a hybrid front, so they do run a little 3-4, which isn't great for Lawson, but he could still be okay in space because he is ridiculously talented.
All right, and next we have the Philadelphia Eagles, new head coach, possibly new quarterback, just new everything. What do we got with them?
Yeah, new quarterback is what I have them going. Carson Wentz out of North Dakota State. Bradford's gone. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. Wentz is awesome. I don't believe in the top 5 hype at all. I watched the first game I watched on him was August, I think, and I fell in love with him. And I'm his biggest fan, but I don't believe top 5 is where he should go. He's 24 years old. He's not very polished. Athletically, he's a freak, but he's not polished when it comes to the mental processing side of the game. And that takes a while to learn. So I don't believe in the top 5 hype, but I think 13's a good spot for him to go just because of his amazing athletic ability. So I think Philly should go with Wentz.
Then we have the Oakland Raiders, which year after year for the past several years, they've just been terrible at drafting. But the past couple of years, they've hit home runs. Amari Cooper, Khalil Mack. Where do you see them going as they continue to just strive better and better each year?
Vernon Hargreaves the cornerback from Florida. I think they should go with him. He's still on the board. They drafted DJ Hayden, the guy from Houston, the corner from Houston, in 2013. He's been a bust. So I think they should look to keep adding to their secondary. Woodson's retiring, which sucks because he's a legend. So they have a decent defense. It's getting better. They have Mario Edwards. They have Khalil Mack. So they should look for a guy like Hargreaves who can he transcends. He can play in like a zone, like a cover 3, cover 2 scheme. He can do everything. He can play man-to-man, press. He's very well-rounded, and I think Oakland should take him if he's still on the board. They should go defense at all costs, basically.
And that would be pretty scary if Vernon can transform to the NFL pretty quickly and having him on the Raiders. Then we have the Los Angeles Rams. Who do you got going with them?
It's so weird hearing people say Los Angeles Rams because in my lifetime, like, it's always been St. Louis Rams. So I have the LA Rams going with Laquan Treadwell. They're not set at quarterback. I don't believe they have a quarterback capable of starting on their roster. So I have them going with Laquan Treadwell, wide receiver from Ole Miss. He's awesome. He was originally in my top 10, but he's fallen a little bit because I know his 40 time isn't going to be good. You can see it on tape. His play speed isn't crazy. So he's going to fall a little bit. But if Los Angeles can take him and pair him with Tavon Austin and Gurley, whoever the quarterback is, his life's going to be pretty easy. So they should go with Treadwell.
And I might be on the lone boat here, but I still believe in Case Keenum. I was a fan of him when he was at the University of Houston. And then when he went to the Houston Texans, I believe they should have gave him a more of a chance because they did pretty solid with him. Then he goes to the Rams. I think he did pretty well this year. Now, again, whether he can start all 16 games, who really knows? But, you know, I'm glad you didn't pick quarterback here. I don't think they should go quarterback first round. Again, that we already talked about the class that we have. But I'm not too, I'm not selling on Case Keenum.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. They should weigh their options. Keenum, Foles, like, they've invested a lot in Foles. Should keep looking at him. Keenum, he, like, the concussion situation, like, he's been injured quite a bit, but if he can stay healthy, like, he has some magic in him.
All right. Then we have the Detroit Lions. Now, you got Treadwell gone. Don't know if they would have gone after him, but Calvin Johnson most likely retiring. Who do they go with?
I've been going with Sheldon Rankins, the defensive tackle out of Louisville. Ndamukong Suh, leaving in free agency last year, hurt them quite a bit. So there's a huge hole in the middle of their defense. Sheldon Rankins, he's rising a lot now, but he's going to continue to rise. Like, people have him going, like, second, third round, but his athletic ability is ridiculous. He can be like Aaron Donald. He could be that good. He would be a perfect 3-tech in their 4-3 defense. He's a freak, so they should definitely go with him.
Right, and then we have the Atlanta Falcons. What do you got with them?
I have Kevin Dodd, the edge defender out of Clemson. I actually just recently studied him because I didn't have enough tape on him to, like, actually get a full idea of who he was. But once I got enough tape on him, I realized he's unbelievable, like, ridiculously talented. He has more upside than Shaq Lawson, who's his line mate, but right now he's crazy. Atlanta on their defensive line, they already have Beasley, but they still didn't get any pass rush this year. I think if they can get someone to take the load off of Beasley, someone like Dodd, that would really help their defense out. Dodd is very impressive.
Yeah, I really liked him coming on late in the season, and when most of us got to hear from him, see what he was about, and seeing how he played, in the playoffs and against Alabama, did an amazing job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then we got the Indianapolis Colts back at 8-8 once again. Who do you see them going for?
Well, it's surprising. I don't have them taking a receiver because they seem to love taking receivers every single draft. I have them taking Taylor Decker, the left tackle out of Ohio State. They have quite a bit invested in the left side of the offensive line. They should probably put Decker on the right side. I think Decker's best fit is on the right side. People think he could play on the left side, but I think he's kind of similar to Taylor Lewan. He's huge. He's a mauler in the run game. He's aggressive, strong. So I think Decker should play on the right side, and Indy really needs to protect Luck. So they should go Decker.
Definitely. Then we got the Buffalo Bills, who are letting go of Mario Williams and LaShawn McCoy. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Where do you see them going for?
I have them going Robert Nkemdiche, the defensive tackle or end out of Ole Miss. I don't know if he's going to fall this far on draft day because he's probably going to run a stupid time at the combine. His explosion numbers are going to be crazy, but as of right now, his stock's pretty low. So I see him going 19 to Buffalo. And if this does happen, it's going to be crazy. Rex Ryan he's a defensive genius, but he had a tough time this year with the pieces he had. Kimdichie can play in a 3-4 as a 5-technique defensive end. He can play in a 4-3 as a 3-technique defensive tackle. He can succeed at both. And Rex Ryan, if you want anyone to develop you, Rex Ryan's that guy. So Kimdichie, I think he'd have a good time in Buffalo.
And then we have Rex Ryan's old team, a team that just missed the playoffs. We have the New York Jets. Where do you see them going?
I see them going to Zeke Elliott. I think Chris Ivory is going to bolt in free agency. And I don't think he wasn't consistent last year at all. So I think the Jets should re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick if they were smart. And they should get a guy like Zeke to help Fitzpatrick out. They already have some good receivers, but if they could get a guy like Zeke, that would be awesome for Fitz. Zeke is probably it's weird to think that a running back is the guy who's probably going to be the most consistent and has the least chance of busting in a class. I hate saying this because, Trent Richardson's not going to bust.
Oh, yeah.
Look what happened with him. But Zeke he's unreal. So the Jets should look at him if he's still there because Ivory's probably gone.
Right. And then we have Washington. Interesting where you have them. What do you got?
I have Jaron Reed or Jaron. Nobody actually really knows how to pronounce it. I think it's Jaron. Defensive end out of Bama. They run a 3-4 front, and that's where Jaron Reed is most successful in. He could play 5 technique. He could play 0 technique. So they should look to beef up their front 3. And Jaron Reed is so versatile. He's so strong. He's immovable. He's great as a 2-gapper. So either Washington should consider him or Ashawn Robinson, who's another Alabama prospect, another D-line prospect. I think Washington should beef up their front.
All right. Then we got the Houston Texans. Could really go anywhere on the offensive side. Who do you have them taking?
I have them going Ashawn Robinson, defensive end out of Alabama. They're in a bad spot at 22. They're missing out on quarterback. They're missing out on running backs. Arian Foster's done. His body is just giving out on him. So I think they should go with the best available player for them and the best fit. And I think Ashawn Robinson would really help them out because outside of J.J. Watt in their front 3, they're not overly talented. Like Vince Wilfork he's good, but he's really old. So Ashawn Robinson would be a great 2-gapping 5 technique for them. He would really help out Clowney, and it would actually take more pressure off J.J. Watt, which sounds really scary. So
yeah.
They should just look at the best available player, and I think that's Robinson.
And then we got the Minnesota Vikings. Who do you got with them?
I have Michael Thomas, the big wideout out of Ohio State. Mike Wallace definitely gone. He's been kind of a bust there. They have Stephon Diggs, who balled out, but he's not big. He's kind of a quick, good route runner kind of guy, after the catch guy. Thomas is 6'3", he's thick, and he runs unreal routes. So he would really take some pressure off Bridgewater. So I think they should definitely go with Thomas.
And then the Cincinnati Bengals, the playoffs are just not their friend. Who do you got them going?
I have them going Andrew Billings, the defensive tackle out of Baylor. He has some
ability. The Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that actually knew how to finish a game, and against the Bengals. Who do you have them going for?
I've been going Eli Apple, the corner out of Ohio State. His film is a little inconsistent, but GMs love drafting corners on upside, and Eli Apple has a ton of it. He's 6'1", around 200 pounds. He's pretty fast. He has good hips, but he gets a little grabby during the receivers' routes, which is a problem. So he's going to need to learn to use his hands less. But he has a ton of upside, and the Steelers aren't great at corner. They don't really place a high value on cornerbacks because they kind of run a lot of cover 3, so it's just kind of zone. And Apple's more of like a man-to-man guy, but he has a ton of potential, and he could be a lockdown corner for them. And they should, if he's available, they should snag him.
And then we have the Seattle Seahawks, who really have an interesting pick here at 26. Who do you see them going for?
I have them going John Bullard, the defensive tackle out of Florida. On the defensive line, outside of Michael Bennett and Frank Clark, but he's still kind of coming on, I don't think they're that great. In the secondary, they're awesome. They're great. They have a hole at corner, which I think they could fill in the later rounds. But Bullard is so versatile. He's pretty similar to Bennett. Bullard can play 3 technique. He can play 7 technique. He can play anywhere, 5 technique. He can play anywhere on the defensive line. He's so smart. Like his football IQ is off the charts. His first step is amazing. So they should look to beef up that front 4. And pairing Bullard with Michael Bennett would be really, really scary.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was just like, I would love to see that come together at the defensive line for Seattle, having not just one side to be scared of, and now they got another up the middle with him. And then we have the Green Bay Packers. Who do you got them going?
I have them going with Austin Johnson, the defensive lineman out of Penn State. He's big, he's movable, and he could play anything inside of 5 technique on the defensive line. Packers, they run a 3-4 defense, so Johnson fits perfectly in there. He played 1 technique at Penn State, and he's actually, it's surprising, he was the most underrated player on their defensive line. That Carl Nassib, who blew up like the entire Big Ten this year. He posted so many sacks. Anthony Zell, who was a well-known name, but I think he's going to be picked later. Johnson was really underrated, but he is a freak. He could play anywhere in that defensive front and be successful.
Right, and then we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who have some question marks on who they're going to try to keep, but money being an issue. Who do you have the Chiefs taking in with the 28th overall pick?
I have Reggie Ragland finally coming off the board. He's like a top 15 player for me. I love him, but his value isn't very high because he's not a 3-down linebacker. He's more of a liability than an asset in coverage. Derek Johnson's a free agent, and I don't believe he's coming back because he's getting a little old, and he's probably going to ask for a good amount of money. So they run a 3-4, so I believe Ragland could come in and play like the Ted linebacker position, which is basically beside the Mike. He's going to go and stuff gaps. He's a good player, but his value isn't high. So the Chiefs should probably look at him.
And then at 29, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who got demolished against Carolina Panthers in the NFC Championship game, but had a pretty successful season. Who do you have them taking with 29?
I have them going with Leonard Floyd, the linebacker out of Georgia. They picked up Marcus Golden, the edge defender out of Missouri last year in the draft. He's been very good. But outside him, they don't really have a good pass rush off the edge. Leonard Floyd is a little raw. He's kind of similar to Randy Gregory in the fact that he's undersized, but he's quick. He's very quick, and he has a lot of pass rushing moves. As I said, he is undersized. He's probably going to come in around 230, and that's not ideal as a edge defender in a 3-4 in the NFL. But the thing with him is that he dropped in space a lot. Like he was dropped in coverage a lot at Georgia. So if he doesn't succeed as an edge defender, he could play as like just a normal line, like an off-ball linebacker in Arizona. So they should go for him if he's still on the board.
And finally, we're down to the last two teams with the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. Panthers going at 30. Who do you have them taking?
I have them going with Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle out of Michigan State. If you go back and watch the film or the game from the Super Bowl, you could see that Cam Newton had no time to do anything, to even think against that Broncos pass rush. The right side of the defense was a complete mess. I think Michael Orr he's fine. He's serviceable on the left side. Keep him there. But right side needs to be fixed, and I think Jack Conklin can come in and fix the right side. He's kind of similar to Taylor Decker, who was taken earlier to Indy, but he's not as athletic. Conklin's really strong. He's really big, and he could really help out the right side of that defense.
Right, and it was clear that Von Miller had a field day against Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers on the right side, and because of that, the Denver Broncos ended up winning the Super Bowl. And then you have the Denver Broncos at 31 overall. Who do you have them taking?
I have them going with Darren Lee, the linebacker out of Ohio State. This may seem like a weird pick, but the linebackers in Denver, Trevathan and Brandon Marshall, they're both free agents, and they're one of them's definitely going elsewhere to get more money. That always happens after winning a Super Bowl. So one guy's gone. And they should definitely look to grab a guy like Darren Lee, who's surprisingly still on the board. He's kind of similar to Jalen Smith in the fact that he transcends scheme. He could play anywhere. And Denver's 3-4. He can play in the middle. He could play in the middle of the defense. He could play as a kind of a cover two Mike. He drops in coverage very well. He's a good weak side linebacker in a 4-3. So I think they should go with Darren Lee because either Marshall or Trevathan, they're gone. So Darren Lee's their man.
Right, and I know we talked